This is part 1 of the Rusty Empire saga. You need to listen to every word of this, because what happened to me shouldn't happen to anyone. My father was a giant in the logistics industry. He built Titan Transport from a single truck into a global fleet. He was a hard man, but fair. At least, I thought he was. When he died last month, I was devastated. But my stepmother, Linda, and her son, Bryce? They were practically measuring the windows for new drapes before his body was even cold. Linda had been in the picture for 10 years. She was the classic trophy wife, beautiful, cold, and obsessed with status. Her son, Bryce, was my age, 25. He never worked a day in his life. He drove a Porsche my dad paid for, wore watches that cost more than my college tuition, and treated me like the help because I chose to work as a mechanic in the fleet garage instead of sitting in the corporate office. I wanted to learn the business from the ground up. Dad always said he respected that. You have grease under your fingernails, Liam, he told me once. That means you understand how the engine works. I held on to those words. I thought they meant something. But then came the reading of the will. It was held in the mahogany-paneled conference room of the family attorney, Mr. Henderson. Linda walked in wearing a black dress that looked more like a red carpet outfit than morning attire. Bryce was scrolling on his phone, looking bored. I sat in the corner, still numb from the funeral. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat and began reading. It started predictably. To my devoted wife, Linda. She squeezed a fake tear out of her eye. I leave the primary estate in the Hamptons, the penthouse in Manhattan, and the entirety of my liquid assets and stock portfolio, valued at approximately $45 million. Linda let out a gasp that sounded suspiciously like a squeal of delight. She grabbed Bryce's hand. "Oh, we're going to be okay, baby," she whispered, loud enough for me to hear. Mr. Henderson continued. To my stepson, Bryce. Bryce looked up, eyes gleaming. I leave my personal collection of vintage automobiles, and a distinct trust fund of $5 million to ensure his future comfort. Bryce fist pumped. Actually fist pumped. Yes. The '67 Shelby is mine, he shouted. Then, the room went quiet. Mr. Henderson looked at me. He looked uncomfortable. He adjusted his glasses and shuffled the papers. And finally, he said, his voice dropping an octave. To my biological son, Liam. My heart hammered. I didn't care about the money. I just wanted the business. I wanted to run Titan Transport. I wanted to carry on his legacy. To Liam, Henderson read, I leave Sector 4. Silence. Linda frowned. Sector 4. What is that? Bryce laughed. Wait, isn't that the old junkyard down by the docks? The place where we dumped the rusted-out trailers? Mr. Henderson nodded slowly. Correct. It comprises 12 acres of industrial salvage land and all contents therein. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. Sector 4. I knew it. It was a graveyard. It was where the trucks went to die. It was a desolate, muddy wasteland filled with shipping containers that had been written off, rusted chassis, and piles of scrap metal. It was a money pit. The environmental cleanup fees alone would be millions. Is that it? I asked, my voice shaking. He left me a dump. There is a letter, Henderson said. He slid a sealed envelope across the table. I reached for it, but Linda snatched it up first. Let me see that, she hissed. She tore it open before I could stop her. She scanned it, and then she laughed. A cruel, sharp laugh. Listen to this, she mocked. Liam, the world is built on what we throw away. Prove you can see the value where others see only rust. Dad. She threw the letter in my face. He hated you, Linda sneered. He actually hated you. He gave us the empire, and he gave you the trash. Bryce stood up and clapped me on the shoulder. Hey, look on the bright side, bro. If I ever need to scrap my Ferrari after I wreck it, I'll give you a call. Make sure you give me a family discount. They walked out of that office laughing. They literally laughed all the way to the elevator. I sat there for an hour. Mr. Henderson looked at me with pity. I tried to talk him out of it. Liam, he said softly. I told him it was cruel. But he was adamant. He said you were the only one who could handle the weight. The weight of what? I snapped. The weight of 10,000 tons of scrap metal. I took the deed. I walked out. I drove my beat-up Ford truck down to the docks. It was raining. Fitting. I pulled up to the gates of Sector 4. The chain-link fence was topped with razor wire that was falling apart. The sign, Titan Transport, Salvage Division, was hanging by one bolt, creaking in the wind. I unlocked the padlock with the key Henderson gave me. It was heavy, old iron. I drove inside. It was worse than I remembered. Mountains of tires. Shipping containers stacked 4 high, rusted through, leaking orange streaks of oxidation. The ground was an oil-slicked mud pit. This was my inheritance. A literal garbage heap. I parked the truck and just screamed. I screamed until my throat bled. I grabbed a tire iron from my truck bed and smashed the headlight of an old rusted cab. Why? I yelled at the sky. Why did you do this to me? I sat on the hood of my truck and cried. I'm not afraid to admit it. I felt betrayed. I felt worthless. But then, something caught my eye. The rain was coming down hard, washing away some of the mud near the main office, a small, corrugated tin shack in the center of the yard. I saw a glint of metal. Not scrap metal. Not rust. Shiny, polished steel. I wiped my face and walked over. It was sticking out of the mud near the foundation of the shack. I started digging with my hands. The mud was cold and greasy. I uncovered a handle. A heavy, industrial lever set into the concrete ground, covered by a fake layer of dirt and sod. It looked like a hatch. I looked around. No one was there. Just the seagulls and the rain. I gripped the handle. It wouldn't budge. I went back to my truck, got a crowbar, and wedged it in. I put all my weight into it. With a groan of hydraulic seals breaking after years of disuse, the handle turned. A hiss of air escaped. The ground beneath my feet trembled. A section of the concrete, about 4 feet by 4 feet, began to rise. It wasn't just a hatch. It was a pneumatic lift. Beneath it was a staircase. A clean, well-lit staircase spiraling down into the darkness. My heart was pounding in my ears. This wasn't on the blueprints. Henderson didn't mention this. Linda definitely didn't know about this. Prove you can see the value, Dad's note had said. I turned on my phone flashlight and took the first step down. The air down there wasn't stale. It smelled sterile. Clean. Like a hospital or a high-tech lab. I walked down 2 flights of stairs. At the bottom was a single, massive steel door. No keyhole. Just a biometric hand scanner and a keypad. I stood there, dripping wet, holding a crowbar. I looked at the keypad. I didn't know the code. But then I remembered something. My dad was a creature of habit. When I was a kid, he took me to his first ever warehouse. He told me the code to the alarm. He said, Liam, this is the date I made my first million. Never forget where you start. August 12, 1985. 0-8-1-2-8-5. My hand shook as I reached out. I typed it in. Beep. 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 A green light flashed. The hydraulic locks disengaged with a sound like a gunshot. Ka chunk. The massive steel door hissed and slowly swung inward. I stepped inside. The lights flickered on automatically, row by row, extending deep into the distance. My jaw dropped. I wasn't looking at a basement. I was standing on a gantry overlooking a massive underground facility. It was huge. It had to span under the entire 12 acres of the scrapyard. And it wasn't empty. It was filled with. Well, I can't tell you yet. Because just as I took a step forward, my phone buzzed. I had signal down here. I looked at the screen. It was a text from an unknown number. Liam. If you are reading this, you are inside. Do not trust Henderson. Do not trust Linda. Close the door. Lock it. They are coming. And then, I heard it. Above me, back on the surface. The sound of tires crunching on gravel. Lots of tires. SUV doors slamming. Find him. I heard Bryce's voice screaming from the surface. He's here somewhere. Tear this place apart. I am trapped underground. I have the secret to the empire in front of me, and my stepbrother is hunting me down above with a security team. This is just the beginning. Subscribe for part 2 to see what is inside the vault.